Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here and this is the new Patreon Q&A video. So let's get started. Question 1 from Andre. Will there be retrospectives on the remaining Pierce Brosnan era Bond films, and do you plan to cover other Brosnan movies in the near future, like The Lawnmower Man and Taffin? There will be more 007 retrospectives. I'm not sure about Pierce Brosnan at the moment. I am planning to do one on A View to a Kill. In regards to Lawnmower Man and Taffin, Lawnmower Man, I've always wanted to do as a retrospective, but there's no soundtrack released for that movie. There could be a way in which I could kind of rip the music from the 5.1 track. Depends if a lot of the music's been thrown into the rear channels. You can basically take those rear channels and use it as a kind of soundtrack thing. But I am doing a Blu-ray review on the recent Shout Factory release of Lawnmower Man. But Taffin, probably not. Sorry, Andre. Next question is from Wit. Question 1. If you could be given the keys to only one of these cars, which would you pick? Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters, DeLorean from Back to the Future, or the 1989 Batmobile? Personally, it would have to be the DeLorean, because it's a car that existed and you can buy it, but you have to pay a lot of money for it. My friend Eddie in Canada owns one, and I know those cars are a piece of shit and stuff like that, but you know, I'd love to have one. But you know, if by any chance, you know, I had the opportunity to you know, drive the 1989 Batmobile, I'd do it straight away, because that's my favourite Bat car. Question number 2. If you could pick one film to go back in time and be on the set of filming, either to witness how they made it or affect it to make improvements, which would it be? That's an interesting question. I'd probably say Alien 3. I'd love to be on a set there and just see David Fincher lose his mind and swear and argue with the producers. It would be quite dramatic, but also funny at the same time. Next question is from Nick. What are your thoughts on Danny Elfman taking over as composer for Justice League? You've had some common critiques of his scores in the past, with some lacklustre elements arising regularly. How do you feel his style will mesh with the Hans Zimmer groundwork already laid for these characters? If it will mesh at all, especially with him composing for a different Batman altogether. I wasn't that surprised seeing Danny Elfman jump on board. Joss Whedon had worked with him on Age of Ultron, so they have a good working relationship. As we saw with the recent Wonder Woman, the new composer rarely used the Junkie XL Wonder Woman theme. He used it because he's basically probably contractually obliged to. And you can tell he wasn't really a fan of it, and he created his own kind of thing. So the music in Wonder Woman doesn't really reflect what Hans Zimmer was doing. And the new music for Wonder Woman, I think, was far superior than anything that we've had with Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. I don't think Danny will attempt to copy Hans Zimmer's work. I think he'll create something new. They'll probably he may hint at like some of the previous material, but this may be a new kind of cog in the wheel that will change the creative process of these movies now. So there may be a new kind of soundscape for these films. Some may love that, some may hate that direction, but I for one would like to see kind of new music and break away from that kind of Hans Zimmer sound. I don't think it naturally fits with these characters. I love many of Hans Zimmer's scores, and what he did for Batman Begins and stuff was great, but that's a kind of a different kind of universe to what they're trying to do now. They're trying to break away from. So fingers crossed Danny brings over some new stuff and not kind of repeat himself, which he has done in the past. Next question is from Kirk. Have you seen Stranger Things TV series? I enjoyed it a lot. All the nostalgic notes for me, with lots of winks and nods to the 80s movies, including John Carpenter and Spielberg. If you have, what were your thoughts on it? Stranger Things. I love that show. I saw it straight away as soon as it came out on Netflix, and I ploughed through it like in one weekend. And there's always things with Netflix, when you've got like 10 episodes or 13 or whatever, you kind of whiz through them quite quickly, and you want season 2 straight away, but you've got to wait like a year and a half. And I do have the soundtracks as well. So I am a fan. I love the music. I loved all the kind of nods to the 80s movies. So I can't wait for season 2, but I don't know what's happening with that. I'm sure it's in production or they're writing it at the moment. Next question from Kirk. What would you consider is Spielberg's best movie and his worst / overrated? That's a tough question. My opinion on his movies change all the time. You know, one week I like Jaws, one week I prefer Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know. I think Schindler's List is probably his most, you know, powerful movie. The score to that just makes me cry. You know, I saw like a live performance and the guy comes out and played the violin, and I was like, ah. And some people love Jurassic Park. I mean, he's done such a huge variety of movies. I personally, I don't know. Raiders is a really good film. I love The Last Crusade, which is a movie I need to review, which I will do soon. But let's just say his worst movie is Indiana Jones related. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I thought that movie was absolute rubbish. And it was just, he could do far better than that. And it just seems like Spielberg was just, obviously doing it for the money and just like letting George Lucas kind of have more of an influence over it. So yeah, that's probably his worst film. Next question is from Phil. You're obviously a film score fan, like myself. Do you think the classical symphonic score could return, like Williams/Goldsmith, etc.? Or are we stuck with the Zimmer school of acolytes that infect modern film scoring? I have nothing against Zimmer himself, by the way. I think we are kind of breaking away from the sort of Zimmer sound where, it's great Zimmer is known for it, that's his style, but when you've got people that worked with him going out and doing their own scores and basically copying him, then it's a problem because you end up with this kind of very much repetition with film scores. And there's been a lot said about kind of, with especially with the superhero movies doing so well, the scores have all been very subpar, not only like a couple out of like say a selection of 10 would be like something you'd want to buy and go, wow, that's a great piece of music. We are seeing a return to classical scores, but you've really got to kind of look a bit deeper and find them. What's the composer's name? I think what's his surname? His surname's like Displat, something like that. He's the chap who scored Godzilla. Now he's fantastic. He's doing some really good kind of scores. But there are things like Brian Tyler and some of the big composers at the moment are doing classical pieces, but their kind of scores are just they're okay. They're not something I want to go out and buy, or something as a whole kind of album or score I can listen to by itself. There may be like one track I've gone, oh, that's nice, but there's not been like a whole soundtrack, a whole score I've just gone, wow, that was something I just need to have. But I think these popular composers at the moment, because a lot of them are in their 30s and 40s, once they get into their 50s and 60s, that's probably when you'll see their best work. Because Williams and Goldsmith were into their 50s and 60s when they became big. So, really popular with the 80s kind of period. So, we'll see. Just check, over time, they'll get better and better. Secondly, what is your favourite score? Favourite score? Well, it has to be Superman the movie. I think I've said that a few times before. There was other great scores I love, like Basil Podoros' score to Robocop, and Conan the Barbarian, the Howard Shore's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Incredible scores. I mean, that is what, where, at the time when there's quite a lot of Zimmer style scores kicking around, and you've got like Howard Shore pumping out Lord of the Rings, which has every character has a theme. You could hear a piece from it and go, wow, I know what that is. That's the Shire, or that's that's Middle Earth score. So so for me it'll always be Superman. That's I loved it since I was a kid, and it still works today. Next question is from Phil. With the current trend being to remake films and most of them being not very good, are there say 3 remakes that you think are any good and worth recommending? Always with the remake questions. Every time I do a Q&A, there's always like a question of reboots and remakes. I don't know why people want to, find out why I think of remakes. Okay, Phil. Right. 3 remakes that are good. The Thing, The Fly, and Body Snatchers from 1978. So those ones. I know they're all horror kind of ones, but nothing recently I've gone, well, that's like an amazing remake. So, I went the easy route. Body Snatchers, The Thing, and The Fly. The next question is from Frederick. FMV video games were the rage back in the 90s. Is there one or more titles that you've found were actually good? And do you think the format could make a comeback with retro being in lately? I hardly played any FMV games as a kid because I don't think I knew anyone who owned a Sega CD or Mega CD, for us UK people. I had a friend who had a Philips CDI, which he claimed he liked, but I don't think he did. I don't think he ever used it. I mean, FMV games are always kind of, if you saw a still, it's just a really kind of rubbish kind of low res video. But as a kid, reading through the magazines like Mean Machine Sega or CVG, and you think, wow, that looks amazing, because you're thinking, film footage is kind of graphics, and when you do play it, it's just basically press left, press right, press up, press down, basically becomes a QuickTime event. And you, after 10 minutes of playing these things, you realise there is no gameplay. And there's, you know, people have nostalgic kind of feelings for things like Road Avenger, or Night Trap. What other ones were there? And you've got the classic ones like Dragon's Lair, which is like a Laserdisc based game from 1983. But you know, I mean, that's probably the best out of those kind of things. I mean, I know a lot of people like Road Avenger. That's come out on like the Mega CD and even the Laser Active thing. But I don't think FMV will ever have like any kind of... I mean, FMV at the time only had a really short window of popularity. Most critics kind of wrote those games off as garbage. So if it does come back, it would only be for guys in their late 30s who loved it in their teenage years and want to play it back just to sort of have that kind of nostalgic feeling again. But there'll never be a market again for that. It was just a very silly idea in the first place because they're not games. They're not games at all. They're just junk. So there you go. Next question is from Zachary. Hey Ollie, 2 questions. Question 1, have you had a chance to experience The Expanse, be it the books or the Sci-Fi Channel series? I think it's the best thing going in science fiction now. Gives me everything I love about Alien, just so much more. No, I've not heard of it. Never seen it. Really sorry, Zachary. I do have the Sci-Fi Channel, but I barely watch it. I don't really watch much TV. If I do, it's always kind of just like other stuff on Netflix or documentaries, or you know, random bits of comedy. But I know I'll check it out though, and I'll let you know. Question 2. I was listening to your second Robocop commentary the other day, and Duncan mentioned the term frontier capitalism in describing the ungoverned, morally dubious practices of major corporations. It perfectly describes the attitude of OCP, Weyland-Yutani, Protogen, and InGen. And I was wondering if you all coined the term. Oh, I don't know, Zachary. That may have been Richard who mentioned that, but I don't think it's a phrase we coined. I think it's just another take on capitalism and things like that. So just kind of using those kind of words to describe OCP and their practices. But you know, if it's a new word that we created, frontier capitalism, then it's mine. Final question is from Aidan. After the recent firing of Lord and Miller from the Han Solo film and the Edgar Wright Ant-Man fiasco, do you think big name writers / directors will be put off working for Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm in the future? I don't think they'll be put off. I think you just have to go in knowing there is set rules and guidelines you have to follow. And if you break away from that mould, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And this is what's happened with the Han Solo film. There's already kind of more and more news kind of being fired out about, you know, sort of reaction to it, and some of the crew were quite happy once they left, and Ron Howard got the job. So I presume there's got to be a lot of reshoots. The film may be delayed. Will we ever see the footage that they shot, or will that footage be incorporated into the film, and it will just be Lord and Miller and Ron Howard all credited as directors? It's kind of a bit of a Richard Donner kind of scenario where he's kind of been taken off, then Richard Lester comes in, and Donner doesn't get credited till, you know, 25, 30 years later for the Richard Donner cut. And also the actor playing Han Solo, they're kind of dubious about his performance. They should have gone with Duncan Casey because he looks like a young Harrison Ford. But yeah, I don't think directors are going to be scared off. They're all going to jump at the chance to work with on a Marvel or a Star Wars film because, you know, it's always a stepping stone to something else. And, you know, a lot of people are going to get a chance to see you as a director as well, even though you may be kind of restricted on being fully creative. But that's the thing you've got to put aside, you know. Either going to do a smaller movie where you've got full control, or you're going to do a $200 million Star Wars film and you're going to have Lucasfilm and Disney looking over your shoulder. You know, just got to be careful. Stick to the rules, as it were. Okay, folks, that is the end of the Q&A. The next review is going to be on Baby Driver for the next episode of Fix It in Post. The Transformers retrospective should already be available on YouTube if you see this video. If not, it'll be on the following day. And the next retrospective will be announced at the end of the review on Baby Driver, and the winner of the Transformers competition, where you can win the Optimus Prime action figure. Where's he gone? He's over there. There we go. Transformer. It comes with a sword as well. Look at that giant sword. It's like a ginormous carrot. Yeah. Anyway. Right. Okay, everyone. Take care. And I'll see you all next time.